Welcome to the Chronically Healthy Life Show. When you hear the word chronically, do you automatically associate it with chronic disease? We all do. It's been programmed right into us. But what if we flip that whole idea on its head? Let's discover how we can create chronic health in our bodies, our minds, our finances, our relationships, and of course, in our lives. Welcome to a place where chronically means healthy, wealthy, joyful, and ridiculously alive. Let's flip the script together. Today, we are so excited for having our Thanksgiving special, celebrating with our Chronic Health Collective family.
So, since this is Thanksgiving special, I figured we'd do something a little different, and we've invited some of our collective coaches here, and we're going to talk about something that's really useful to all of you, and that is how to overcome stress during this really stressful holiday.
Sounds good. You know me, I'm never stressed. So
why don't you kick it off? You're my stress, so you start first.
I guess handling stress, it really depends on what type of situation is stressing you. It was interesting. I was just talking with a couple of the coaches before the show, and one of our, I guess, benefits of not having stress and being able to travel more. That's how we handle stress, is traveling more, is because we don't have children. So we have a little bit less stress in that aspect. But then again, I can tell sometimes I stress her out when we hang out too much. So, so I guess you're going to have to tell everyone, how do you handle it when I get on your nerves?
Well, you get on my nerves every day. So it's not a holiday stress point, but the holidays, right? We tend to have like big families, big dinners, big events, a lot of people. And for someone that's really introverted like me, that's really tough for me, right? So for someone like me, just make sure you find some time to be with yourself. You can just put a headphone and listen to some music that you like, or read a book, or do something that you like, even like playing a game on an iPad alone. That would reset you to a different state to make you a little less stressful. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. And just to elaborate on that, it is really funny because she likes to go on walks alone with her headset. And I don't like walking alone. So when I hear her open the garage door, she walks out. I'm seeing she's walking down. I literally wait for her to walk half a block. And then I follow behind her almost like a bodyguard. And I swear, I don't even think she knows that I'm behind her until we both get home. And it's a great way because, like I said, I'm an extrovert. I like to be around people. I don't like to be alone, but knowing that she's there and just spending time, like I'm so happy when I spend time with my Chronic Health Collective family. It just raises my energy up. And I think it's important for those that like to have people around. That is one of the ways to lessen their stress. For me, it is. You got a whole bunch of friends coming together, just laughing, telling stories. And sometimes, to me, that's the best way of releasing stress.
That's very stressful to me. But let's go on to our other coaches. Jenny, let's go to you first.
Hello, everybody. So yes, the holidays can be very, very stressful. I think for me, or just, the things the advice or the suggestions that I give, or practices that I try to embody is remembering to be present in the season, right? There's so many things pulling at our energy and so many expectations to be this, to do this, particularly when we're coming together with family. There's this tendency to slip into these roles, right? I don't come in as Janine, ancestral medicine woman. I come in as Janine, eldest daughter, and so many other things. And so that kind of comes in. So learning to kind of be present, regulating my nervous system through small rituals. And so fresh air, drinking tea. But I think most importantly for me is really setting boundaries that honor my spirit, my mind, and my body. No is a complete sentence. I don't have to have any conversations that are not productive and healthy for me. And so just protecting my peace and just kind of being energetically and emotionally secure. That's a sacred act during the holidays, right? Just kind of staying in your own sense of sovereignty, peace, and protection. And along with that, allowing space for those mixed emotions, right? There is joy, there could be grief, there's frustration, all of those things, and all of them are valid. And so just really treating myself with compassion and gentleness as I, just kind of manage what could be very stressful.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly?
Yeah, I think we're probably going to say a lot of the same things. Coming at it from the fear perspective, like Janine said about expectations. So having clear communication of what you're supposed to bring, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or when you're supposed to show up, how long it's going to last. Clear communication with your partner, because sometimes they commit to something and they don't ask you, right? So having that clear communication between all the people that you're going to be interacting with is really good. Being prepared will help you feel less, stressed out or fearful in the moment. And I think being present is really great advice as well. Really experiencing that togetherness, or what it is that you love about the holidays. If it's, we don't have snow here in California, but if it's walking in the snow, or if it's, jumping in the leaves, if it's, sitting down and watching Hallmark movies, whatever it is, like really love it and embrace it and be in it, and take advantage of what the season brings. So that's definitely a must for me. And then my thing is, don't overpopulate your plate. So, pick your things that you're going to want to do, and stick to those things. And also your food plate, don't put too much.
Good advice. So, Christy, we were talking about tips on how overcoming stress during the holidays. What's your take on it?
Well, so I fully agree with everything everyone is saying. I also am introverted, and I like a lot of downtime during the holidays. But for people with children, it is too easy to get so completely overwhelmed with everything you think you should do. And if we can just let go of a lot of that, the joy of playing with your kids when they're on a school break, or if they're too little for school, or just when you have a little holiday time, is outweighs anything that you could do that they won't remember. They won't remember, all the presents and all that. They'll remember that you spent time and that you had fun. So I know, like here they have pumpkin patches and hay rides and haunted houses at Halloween and Thanksgiving things, and we haven't started having snow yet. But that's coming. But that kind of thing. There's so many things to do with the kids that are engaging. And if you let go of all the things you think you should do, yes, it's fun to have a good meal. Yes, it's fun to visit the family, especially the kind of Thanksgiving where everybody brings something, so it's easier on everyone. No one has to make the whole thing. And then just enjoy that time. And then it just takes so much pressure off. Take pressure off yourself, because this idea that we have to do all this stuff is really false. We really don't have to. Do only the things you really love, and the rest will take care of itself.
I love that.
Yeah.
Jessica, go to you.
Oh, such good things. Well, one thing I will say is prioritizing sleep is really important. And I think we don't think about prioritizing sleep because, you know, some people just live by the mantra, you can sleep with your own dead. Well, that's not sleeping. And you actually lose out on having that healthy life experience if your sleep is suffering. It's much more difficult to think about this idea that your body can't process emotions, it can't process food, it can't process everything that you need to stress at all when you're lacking sleep. And there is a version of stress that is actually normal for us. It's when our level of performance and our level of tension in our body kind of intersect with each other. So there's this model, they call it the Yerkes-Dodson model of stress. So some stress, meaning some performance and tension in our body, actually serves us well. But I think what we're really talking about here is when those things overlap and push us into distress. And so kind of having this understanding that what is our zone of optimal performance and tension that we're able to tolerate, and every person has a different one. And so I say, you know, when expectations are here and reality is here, what happens in the middle is those intense emotions. So having space to kind of work through or process what are the intense emotions that are coming up. And from a trauma perspective, really recognizing that your safety in your body and your nervous system is more of a priority than any of these things. And so often what I see is people who have trauma that has occurred around holidays because of past family experiences or some of these other things want to bypass that and say, well, I should be better. I shouldn't experience that. They should all over themselves. So they need to quit shitting on themselves and really establish a new priority for safety in their body. When we are in this place of trying to do everything because it's the season or because everybody else tells us to do it, we're bypassing our own nervous system safety, which takes a lot longer for us to actually live in that chronically healthy life that we're looking for. It actually takes a lot longer for us to even experience what some others may experience naturally. I know right now we're in the season of like gratitude and Thanksgiving. And for someone who's coming through traumatic events, especially recent ones, you can actually not make yourself be grateful, because when you do that, you're bypassing your nervous system safety. And so it's really important that you understand, what is my nervous system need right now? Instead of forcing myself to feel a certain way or be present a certain way, be present with yourself and allow yourself that grace to say, in this moment, I'm not forcing myself to just be grateful, or I should have this, or I know that, you know, I should be grateful I have X, Y, and Z, but I feel this way. And just stop pushing yourself to feel the way that you don't, and accept, I feel this way right now, and how do I want to choose to move forward in it? And that includes in your holiday participations, in your relationships, in what you eat, like they said, in what boundaries you set, in family connections, and knowing ultimately that it's your choice. You get a choice. And it's no, you know, unless somebody else is like paying all your bills and do all your things in life, they don't get a vote. Revoke your voting power from giving it away to everybody else. I mean, ultimately, you're the one that gets the vote for how you need to show up safe and to enjoy the season for you. But also prioritizing sleep is a big deal.
I love that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Leandra?
Yeah. You all said things that I agree with. And coming from the dating and relationship perspective, especially if you're dating or in between relationships, Thanksgiving or Christmas can be extremely stressful because everyone has an opinion on your status. So it can be really stressful, and trying to think and how to navigate especially if it's your first, you're recently separated, recently divorced, especially those two aspects, or even just coming off a long-term relationship, is being prepared and knowing people are going to ask. So don't judge them for them wanting to know the status, knowing ahead of time, hey, we're curious creatures. We want to know. But if you don't want to reveal all the things, just keep it really simple. Just say, yeah, I'm still going through the breakup and I'm going to be okay. I'll talk about it at a later time. I recently had this experience with my nephew. He's in his early 20s, and we were at a family gathering. It was a birthday. And I asked him, I was like, hey, how's your significant other? And he was like, we're not talking anymore. And Curious Minds was like, what does that mean? Right? I'm like, you mean talking or not together? And he's like, I don't want to talk about it. Now, thankfully, since I teach boundaries, I was like, oh, not a problem. And he also turned his body a little way for me to close off. Right. So I love that about him. And also, if you're wanting to change the conversation, you can either, change the conversation or just shift your body away, right? People notice body language and receive it. So I received him in those two spots. Thankfully, I was the right person to tell that and wasn't just like, what happened? And also I wanted to go to his mom and say, what happened? But I didn't. I respected the boundaries. But if you have an aunt that is a nosy aunt or uncle, just be prepared and learn and just be gracious. Just say, I'm not ready to talk about it, but in due time, I'll be ready to talk about it. So those are just some ways, knowing and not getting upset if inquiring minds ask. But no is a complete sentence. No, I don't want to talk about it. And don't lie, right? I have been there where I've made stuff up where I'm like, oh, blah, blah, whatever. The first time I was in the middle of my separation when I was divorced many years ago. I didn't know how to hold the space for myself. And so I literally said my husband at the time was somewhere else. That was not true. We were actually separated. So don't lie, just be honest. But because we don't want to add extra stress of trying to carry different stories around. And the other thing is, if you are bringing in a new person, because I am a dating coach, people are bringing new people in, just tell your significant new boyfriend or whatnot, just, help set the land for them, the landscape, so that they know, hey, my uncle's going to ask you this, my so-and-so is going to ask you this. Just give them as much information as possible, but let them also navigate it. But don't let them go in with, like not knowing anything, because you don't want to stress out. You don't want them to be stressed out, especially if you have a big extroverted family. You want to give them the space to do that. So those are some things to help in the relationship space. And and if you're just neither of those things, you're just single, you can just still say, I'm happily single and I'm still working on it. End of story. That's it. You don't have to go into that. So so there are some ways to help on the relationship side.
That's good advice. So I guess along the similar lines, let's talk about how to deal with conflicts. Like you can avoid conflicts or you can face it. What would your advice be? Let's start with Janine.
With dealing with conflict, I really believe like coming from a place of being anchored in your truth and realizing that and understanding and holding that my truth doesn't need to resonate with anyone else. This is my truth. And so this is very possible when we're showing up differently, for the first time. I remember when I started showing up as Janine, ancestral medicine woman. Right. And so and which is very different than Janine, preacher's daughter. And so avoiding a certain conversation. And when I say avoiding, for lack of a better word, like I know that this is a conversation where you're not necessarily trying to understand my truth. You want to poke holes at it. I'm not engaging. And so that's that. But then as I got more comfortable in this new, this iteration of me, I come and I speak my truth. Like last Thanksgiving, we prayed over the food and I did an ancestral blessing. So, just kind of showing up as this version of me, and not, it's just to kind of give a window in. And again, I was more settled in myself. And so it didn't have to be a point of conflict. It was just something that I wanted to lovingly contribute to our family space. Who knows what I'll do this year? But I really think it comes down to me for just really being anchored into your own sense of truth, regardless of what others feel or what's going on around you. And then you can always just say, this is not a productive conversation. Yeah, I'm not going there. Mm-hmm.
I love that.
That's good advice. So Kelly, I know you have a really big family. Assuming you're a pro at dealing with conflicts. Let's hear about it.
Yeah. Actually, I'm one of the babies of the family, so nobody really expects anything from me. Because like the babies, they don't contribute, right? But they're starting to come around. And see my value and that I actually have good things to say. Not to say that they don't, but that's the role I play in my family. So, but yeah, I think most conflict comes from some unspoken expectation. And so it's a matter of clearly expressing what it is that you wanted to happen or you thought was going to happen, and expressing whatever needs, that weren't met. And in a way of taking responsibility for your miscommunication or your assumption, and then just plainly asking if they're willing to do whatever it is that you need. Because when we come at it like accusatory or saying you instead of I or me, that's when people kind of get their back gets up, and there's things, people say things they want to take back right after they say them. So I think it just comes back to that clear communication. There's with expectations, there's this thing called silent contracts. And it's where you've made an agreement with someone, but they don't know. So, so it's remembering that if you haven't had that conversation, then you need to have that conversation. Especially when it comes to like present giving. You might expect a friend to give you a present because you gave them one. Or you might expect, well, I spent so much money on what I brought to Thanksgiving dinner, and this person only spent like this much money, right? So there's different things that come into play, especially with people that aren't really like those family members that came in through marriage, and then different age and teenage cousins get along differently. Sometimes they like each other, sometimes they don't. So it's all the different levels of generations too that you're playing with, right? Because our family goes from, my mom who's 80, to the youngest great grandchild who is 6. So there's a lot of levels in between there to have miscommunication because of all sorts of factors. So just keeping that communication really clear and owning your part of the situation.
That's good advice. And I mean, we are both babies of the family. I think they expect a lot from us.
It is so true, Kelly. I'm the baby, and I come from a big family, so I know exactly what you're saying. They always say the elders know best, and what you say is, well, whatever. They just brush you off. So, but like you said, it's changing. It's changing. As the older are getting older, they're not always wiser, right? The young ones have to rise up, right? So I love what you're saying. Thank you, Kelly.
So, Christy, You have the unique perspective of you being a teacher for really small kids and you taking care of your mom, which is like the other spectrum of it.
Right.
What's your advice on dealing with conflict with little kids, really old kids?
Yeah, that's very accurate. Well, for the little kids, my experience has been that the teacher in me cannot be controlled. And so if I'm at an event where there's a lot of kids, I tend to do the classroom management thing and keep them occupied with games and puzzles. And if I hear conflict, which I'm very attuned to, every teacher is who teaches young ones, I know how to redirect them. Kids are easy. You can redirect their attention into something different. You can separate the ones that are just going to go at it no matter what you do. Teenagers, I found, are actually a little easier because they want to kind of go off by themselves and feel independent, and they'll get along because they know if they don't, their parents will crush them. So if they want a little independence at an event, they'll behave, they'll get along, they'll do something cool. For the older, the biggest thing with when you have elderly people that if you're the caregiver and you're bringing them to an event is, I've had two things with my mom. One is that I'll put her down somewhere where she's contained, like she's in a chair. I don't have to worry about her falling, but everybody ignores her, and she's. And it's hard. She's bored and she's sad because she wants to chat with people. She wants to talk to them. So finding a way to bring her into a situation, and then I literally go around and say, "Hey, come and talk to my mom. You haven't seen her in a while," and bring people over to talk to her. The other side of that is paying attention to when she's gotten to the end where she's too tired and I need to take her out. And often that is early. And it has to be okay. Like Janine said, no is a complete sentence. It's okay for me to say, no, we're not going to have dessert. I need to take her home. And so, yeah, it's always like this. But you get used to it. You know, anyone who's raised children or has cared for an elderly person, you get used to it and you start knowing, you get a sixth sense for what's happening in the room. And you can kind of manage or deflect conflict or just flat out say, you know what, let's just drop this and move on and have a peaceful time. I've gotten to the point now where I'll just say that because my family is a big conflict family. And I'm just like, you know what, this is not the time for that. Move on. And they all look at me like, what? You're not going to play the game? No. So that's, yeah, it's really just about, letting it be peaceful in a situation where it's meant to be fun. Why do we have to engage in things, that are, if you're going to engage, go elsewhere, something like that. But yeah, everybody here is right. Everything they're saying is true. And I'm sure Jessica's going to weigh in on the trauma because so much of that is trauma in us. And then the heat rises. So Jessica, take it away.
Well, I think preserving your peace is really important. It's really interesting. I was having a conversation actually about holiday conflict with my mom. And we were talking about that there's actually two different types of holiday conflict. There's the people who are like passive aggressive in their conflict, and they will do all the conflict before they're physically in front of you. And so holiday conflict is the conflict between siblings or cousins or aunts and uncles, grandparents, and it's all the phone calls and text messages and it's all the stuff before you actually physically show up. And that's still conflict. And so your body becomes dysregulated in all of that, so that by the time you actually physically show up, you're not in a calm state. You have lost your peace way before you got there. And then there's some people, like, which tends to be more my family, like we hold it all in until we all show up, and then one thing will set somebody off and it's this big huge explosion and it happens and then we move on. So we save the conflict for when we're physically in front of each other, right? So I think, first of all, knowing the conflict style of the family or the group you're with can be really helpful because both of them impact your nervous system. The second thing I really think about and communicate is that behavior is just communication. And so much of what's being communicated is an unmet need. And that's typically why the conflict occurs. And so Dr. William Glasser postulates that the 5 basic needs are not just a survival need, but it's love and belonging, fun, power, and freedom. And so depending on where you're coming from, why you're choosing to act the way you are, or somebody else is choosing to act the way they are, say what they're going to say. Everybody knows how to push buttons, how to be passive aggressive. They know internally what they're doing. They may not consciously acknowledge it, but the behavior that they're having is somehow communicating a need. And so it could be communicating that they want independence from something like that, freedom. I want the choice to do what I want to do, and I don't want to have a reaction to it. It could be, and most often it is a love and belonging need. So when I put this framework on of, okay, you're saying some really snarky things to me. What is it that is the need that you are not feeling in this moment? And do I have an opportunity to meet your need without acknowledging what you just said to me? Or am I going to have to activate my pre-decided on exit strategy, which I think is also really important. You have to know what is your exit strategy when your peace is being stolen from you. And sometimes, having those kids or those elderly or be like, well, we got to go can be a great exit strategy, right? Or telling everybody I got to leave at this time. You have to know what is your exit strategy in preserving your peace, but taking a step back sometimes instead of what happens is if we don't process this before we go, somebody will say something and do something, and internally we automatically have a reaction. It incites every trauma we've had with that person in that relationship prior to then. But if we can take a step back and saying, okay, they're not using emotional intelligence, they're not communicating from a healed perspective, they maybe haven't done the work to heal their trauma, and they're saying some things that show me they have a love and belonging need, I don't have to accept it just because they're saying it. If I recognize that what they're doing is a reflection of who they are and not a reflection of who I am, it allows me to disconnect from their stuff. And in some ways, look at them with compassion and think about, must be really miserable living the life you live. Sometimes I have to tell myself internally about some people. But also, just going back, you really need to think about, is your family one of those families that creates drama up until the moment you're together and then pretends it didn't happen? Or is your family the one that waits and explodes when everybody's together? Because both of them steal your peace.
Mm-hmm.
So, Leandra, which type do you have?
Well, it reminds me of actually, speaking of, we had one Thanksgiving. This is years ago, but my dad had just lost, we had just lost our mom. And I think it was our first time, it was our first Thanksgiving after that. And my 12-year-old nephew had just had this really intense surgery where he was in a lot of pain. And we were all at the dinner table and Thanksgiving, and apparently we didn't know how much tension there was, right? Thinking of, so it was, my memory of it was his mom was stressed out over the surgery. She had a sick son. And then my dad was really pissed off about how we were handling Thanksgiving without our mom. And then everything just exploded, like exactly what you just said. And I don't remember their tears, but I felt like all the chairs backed away. When you hear the chairs slide, it was like one of those moments. But it was too that I think we all needed to explode, there was a lot of feeling, right? There was grief, anger, not necessarily hurt, but there was physical pain going on. And then just, concern. And I think that was the last memorable Thanksgiving that I can remember where there was that much stress involved. I think since then we've gotten better at expressing ourselves, not through text messages, but hey, let's express ourselves right at the dinner table. But we did come together on that. But I do love, I love what you were saying about having an exit strategy. And I know that at least as a hostess, one of my favorite books is The Art of Hospitality, and learning that you have a lot more authority than you think you do, and how to, begin, like, hey, we start on time. Like, people know that we start on time. So they've learned that very, like my nephews that are late, I'm like, hey, we're starting without you. You're going to like miss it or lose it. Like, know who you are. And then also, for Thanksgiving, I live in Dallas, so we have Cowboy fans in the place. So I'm not a big fan, but I do know that we center dinner around the Cowboy game, and that's okay. But there's an expectation, like, hey, if you're going to eat, it's going to be before Thanksgiving, before the game, before kickoff, which is, I think, 3:15. And then after that, like, we'll stay, but everyone, hey, I need my rest. So leave. And actually it was my brother who taught me that, how to have as a hostess, because I'm like, how do you get people out of your house? Right. And people don't talk about that, but that's part of a stress, right? Because if you're preparing and then you're hosting and then you're like managing, not managing, but there's a lot of things going on as a host, a lot of stress. He's learned to say, like, hey, I'm going to bed. Like, he'll literally leave the room, and I've learned to be like, oh, well, hey, we're packing up, we're ready to go, and just being kind enough to say the evening is over. Because otherwise you got a lot of people that are going to I say chronically, but if you got chronic drinkers, right, they're going to keep drinking and drinking. And then that's where a lot of chaos happens, right? I was going to say alcohol tends to also do that. So we do have alcohol at our family gatherings, but it's not a lot. And so that has kept the stress levels not as crazy as other places I've been where alcohol does kind of impact the gathering. So that also is a way to keep it stress-free. So those are my adventures in stress. Or conflict.
Very nice. I love it all. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll go talk about food, I think. Yeah, we'll take a break and we'll be back.
When you look in the mirror, do you see skin that's just dry, tired, and stressed? It's time for a new ritual. Introducing Deep Love, the blue botanical face cream by Coolness. We've captured their tranquil essence of blue botanicals in a cloud-soft formula that deeply soothes irritation and restores your natural, healthy glow. This isn't just skincare, it's an act of self-care. It's Deep Love. Find your calm only at coolness.com. Scan the QR code now to visit our website.
Welcome back to Chronically Healthy Life. So in our Thanksgiving episode this year, let's switch our topic to something a little lighter. Let's talk about something unique that you tend to eat or do during Thanksgiving. Let's go backwards. Leandra, let's start with you.
One of our favorite things. So this was a few Christmases ago that my husband gave me a sous vide cooker, and I didn't. Yeah, at the time I didn't know what it was, and I was so confused because when I realized it was something that takes a long time to cook, I was like, why would you give this to me? Anyway, I have since appreciated sous vide cooking. So one of the unique things that we do is sous vide our turkeys. So it is a process. We have to break apart that bird, like deconstructing a turkey intense to keep it, to put it in the sous vide cooker is quite a process. Thank God for YouTube. But yeah, so we have done that, and it is really good. I mean, when you do that, it's delicious. So that's what we do, and it's one of the things that we have enjoyed, and it is delicious. So yeah, worth all the effort. And thank you, Dale, for the gift that I've learned to appreciate. Poor thing.
That's awesome. We had a sous vide cooker we just bought a few months ago too, so we'll definitely try that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jessica,
Well, my favorite dish is sweet potato casserole, hands down. I just love that. And also I'm, one of the people, if you take a vote about the cranberry sauce, like Ocean Spray gelled from a can, love it 1000%. I will bring the can if I have to. It's one of the very few, like, I know people are like, that's the fake stuff. I love all of it, but that's my favorite. But when I married my husband, so I grew up in the East Coast, and we have very unique Pennsylvania Dutch cooking things that we do for other things, not so much for Thanksgiving. But my husband, his family grew up in the Midwest, and it's their tradition to have chicken and dumplings on Thanksgiving and Christmas. So it's really interesting. Every year they have the traditional Thanksgiving feast, but then they also have chicken and dumplings, which is really interesting because the part of Pennsylvania I grew up in, we would call that chicken pot pie. So in the part of southern Pennsylvania, if you go there and you order chicken pot pie, it will not be a vegetable pie with chicken brought with a crust. It will look very similar to chicken and dumplings. And so it's typically made with slices of dough and potatoes and chicken and like this creamy type gravy sauce. And that in southern Pennsylvania is chicken pot pie. So it's just very interesting to me. And then the other holiday we changed a couple years ago. Instead of doing like turkey and ham again on Christmas, we changed to do beef tenderloin on Christmas. And it is like the thing I wait all year for. And it's some recipe that they like slather it in like mayonnaise and some other things, and they cook it really high temperature for a short amount of time, and then they turn the oven off for like 2 hours and let it sit there. And it is the most juiciest piece of meat that you will ever have in your lifetime. So those are some of our food finds for the holidays.
Awesome. Texans love beef.
Exactly.
All right, Christy, what about you?
So when I was growing up, both my grandmothers taught me their recipes. They cooked from the garden, from the farm. And my mother's mother there was one recipe that the entire family is absolutely insane for, that she made up herself. We call it a cheese tort, but it's not a cheesecake. It's a completely unique dessert. That's just her name. And I'm the only one in the family who knows how to make it. So my mom's birthday falls on Thanksgiving. So every year she wants a cheese tort for her birthday. So I think she wants it less for eating it and more for calling her brother and rubbing his nose in the fact that she got a cheese tort for her birthday and he doesn't get any. So I don't know. I guess I was just the grandchild that wanted to learn from my grandmother. So I have recipes from them that no one else knows how to make. So
there you go.
It's fun. Yep.
All right, Kelly, what about you?
So one thing that our family does that I have never heard of anybody else doing is we have bran muffins for Thanksgiving. And it's this old recipe from my grandma. My grandma was born in 1903, so my grandma is really old compared to other people my age. But it's from her recipe, and like over the years, like they stopped making the specific brand cereals that it asks for, and so we have to keep like substituting. But yeah, bran muffins, and we like covet them. Like my sister makes like this huge batch because it's very involved, and makes this huge batch, and we like we'll come and we'll like, okay, like get your Ziploc bag and, you know, grab your bran muffins so that they don't disappear during dinner. Like it's a huge thing. So that's our weird thing for Thanksgiving. Everything else is pretty much the same as probably any, you know, the common Thanksgiving dinner. But for Christmas, my family does fondue. So not for Christmas dinner, but for like the big family party dinner, we do fondue. And so we do 2 cheese fondues. And one has meat and one doesn't, because one of my sisters is a vegetarian. So we've always had one that doesn't have meat, and we eat it with bread and French bread. And if you lose your bread in the fondue, you have to go around and kiss everyone at the table. So nobody likes losing their fondue. And it's so funny because when I was a kid, like they made you do it. They made you go around and kiss everybody. But like our kids, nobody makes them do anything. So, but yeah, so, and then we do strawberry fondue for dessert, and we eat that with pound cake. So that's our special thing that our family does.
That sounds delicious. Wow. Yum. Janine, let's hear about you.
Oh, yes. Okay. So, of course, you know, ancestral medicine woman, like cooking is very ancestral. So even hearing like Christy, like you are like the kind of the wisdom keeper around your family's recipes. Like that is like a highly elevated status, at least in the Black community. I mean, who gets to make the mac and cheese? Who gets to make the greens? Who gets to make the potato salad? Because everybody can't do it. Like those are like high level things. And if you have been endowed with being able to make something that grandma made or great grandma made, I mean, that is like an ancestral endowment, you know? And so like the kitchen has always been kind of like an altar, and food is medicine. And so if I think about one of the things that is big in my family is how everything is seasoned. So I remember one year my mom makes a ham, and one year she tried a different glaze. She tried this different glaze maybe 15 years ago, probably even longer than that. I don't even know if I had kids at that point. Every Thanksgiving, someone talks about the year mom decided to try a new glaze. And as much as we love and revere my mother, I mean, everyone looks at her and just disdain and disappointment that she even ever tried. So seasoning of the food and preserving those tastes are very important. So, and then thinking about what we can do herbally, right? Because here I just want to, there are ways that we can use herbs to bring in not only flavor, but frequency, right? So rosemary, bringing in like protection and clarity and ancestral memory. Thyme, a lot of people don't know, is about courage and energetic resilience. Sage, grounding, purification. So there are ways like, so when we're thinking about how we add these different seasonings, we're also adding kind of to the frequency of the experience. And so it's an exciting way to bring ancestral wisdom into the cooking experience. So, and then also the medicinal properties of herbs. So you are feeding your family mind, body, and spirit when you use different herbs and things like that. And then also the ancestral memory of how people made something and being able to replicate that and calling that energy into moments, even when they are long, long gone, right? You are bringing their memory to the present moment by cooking one of their dishes. And so it's a very beautiful ancestral kind of experience.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I know you've been dying to tell us about it, so why don't you go ahead?
I get to tell you what I love to make for Thanksgiving. I'm just listening carefully to what everyone makes because I love to cook. You know, I'm just one of those guys. I love to cook. And when it comes to Thanksgiving and, you know, Christmas, like large gatherings, I love to try to make something that's a complete meal. Right, something that's going to include the fat, the protein, the carbs, the veggies, the fruits, everything in one healthy meal. And I always like to surprise people with something that would be, something not what they expect. So what I love to make is a turducken, right? You know, we don't go out and buy the stuffed turducken that you can buy from the store and then just go home and cook it. We actually buy a chicken and we have to find a duck that's bigger than the chicken, which is not that easy to do because chickens are huge now. You have to find a duck that can wrap around a chicken, and then you have to then find a turkey that'll wrap around the darn duck. And then you have to figure out the stuffing in between, right? You have the stuffing, you know, so we can do a cranberry stuffing in the middle for the chicken, and then around the chicken and the duck, you have some more of a savory one, and then maybe another one between the duck and the turkey. And you have to break out all the bones. The only bones that stays is the bones for the turkey legs and the turkey wings, but everything else is deboned. And then you have to stitch it all up, and then you have to cook it really low heat and for a freakishly long time. So all 3 layers get cooked. But when it's done right, oh my gosh, it's like when you're cutting through it, it's almost like cutting through, I guess, like a 1,000,000-layer cake or even like lasagna. You can actually see the different layers. And I always loved the look. Remember when I did it the first time when your brother-in-law cut it open, he thought it was a turkey. Well, that's a funny looking turkey because it's sort of lopsided and stuff, right? But when he cut it open and there's like all these layers, I think that's the first time that your dad and mom was really impressed because I think we did the first time, right?
You finally get the respect. They finally like you.
But it is something that is really cool. And for those, like I said, nowadays you can buy a full turducken, but you don't get to choose the stuffing, right? But it is always a really nice surprise. But it's something I missed in the last 4 years because, like I said, it's something you need like literally 15, 20 people or you can't finish it. It's something like the turkey is like 20 pounds. It's just, the whole thing's huge, you know, so. But yeah, that's something I'm always excited. I'm still looking forward to maybe next year. Not going to be this year. This year, I think we're going to fogo de chao or something for
Brazilian
barbecue. So somebody's going to be cooking for us.
Right. So I hope you like this Thanksgiving episode. That's a wrap for us. Join us every Friday here at 7 p.m. CST. We are on e360tv.com in the Vitality TV network. We are also on YouTube at Chronically Healthy Life.
And if you want to reach out to any of our coaches, make sure to check out chronichealthcollective.com and reach out to them. Ask them about how they handle stress, or better yet, get that secret recipe they're all holding in the little Rolodex if people still have Rolodexes. All right. We'll see everyone next week. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Everything we're made of contains light. From the sun that feeds our world to the energy that flows within us. With LifeWave X39, we've found a way to put that light to work. With X39, we achieved something remarkable in the field of wellness and science that others could not. By utilizing LifeWave's unique patented technology, X39 uses light to elevate GHK-Cu, a copper peptide known to support overall health and wellness. Unlike traditional light therapy, X39 uses the body's own infrared light to naturally increase vitality. By gently stimulating the skin with light, our non-invasive, non-transdermal X39 patches help you conquer your active lifestyle and pave a new way to vibrant health. Becoming a powerhouse is easier than you think. It all starts with your body and a little help from light. Place one LifeWave X39 patch on the body. Apply the patch to clean, dry skin in the morning. Patches may be worn for up to 12 hours before discarding. Keep well hydrated while using this product. Harness your natural potential. Reclaim youthful energy. Live long, live well, live young with LifeWave X39. Be the light. LifeWave.